colleagues is probably on the autism spectrum. In retrospect, now that I look at, once you learn what the spectrum is, it used to be Asperger's, and then they folded that in. There are colleagues who just would not relate to another person or a camera, but they were great in their lab and in the things. And so you say you're just not socialized. No, there's something else going on.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Oh, sure.
Do you think that is an evolutionary advantage, that in some way people are developing in this manner so that they can concentrate on things like technology, like astrophysics, like these very specific things that require immense amounts of concentration and extreme focus? Do you think there's possibly that human beings are developing in that way specifically to accentuate our ability to innovate?
So it would be very hard to draw that conclusion as some kind of modern force of evolution, because for that to be the case, what would have to happen is those who had this sort of autistic level of focus, so high-functioning autism, they would have to be making more babies than other people.
Well, Elon is.
That's
He's out there doing his part.
Kids got it, yeah. So they'd have to be making more babies, relative to everyone else, to affect the evolutionary path of modern civilization.
Yes.
And it's not clear that that's what's actually happening. So we have to ask, did that have any value historically? I mean, in the history of the evolution of our species. So in the chapter Body and Mind, I go over the variations that exist within our species.
Mm-hmm.
Huge variations in height, in weight, in speed, in all kinds of things. And you can ask, well, then what is normal? The day that we control the genome, is there going to be some place somewhere where there's a normal human and you're going to take your genome that you're about to control in your unborn child and say, let me adjust it so that it matches this, so that all your senses are working as they're supposed to and all the proportions? Is that the future? We should ask that. Yeah. Because if that's what you're going to do, you're going to homogenize the species.
Yes.
Okay? Do you realize I have a run here of content. I have a run of descriptions of what people have accomplished. Okay? All right, so for example, there's a guy growing up, he wanted to play basketball, okay? And he wanted to be a professional basketball player. All right, so he worked really hard at it. And he just wasn't tall enough. So he says, you should give it up, take on, but he stayed with it. They said, no, basketball is for tall people. You're not tall. Okay? He now plays for the Harlem Globetrotters. His name is Hotshot. What's his last name?
Well, Muggsy Bogues is a great example.
Well, this guy is 4'5".
Whoa.
Yes, he's genetic. He's a genetic dwarf. People told him he can't play basketball, and now he's one of the most popular basketball players. There he goes.
Wow.
Okay? Swanson, Hotshot Swanson. Okay?
Well, there kind of seems like there'd be an advantage of being that small so you can move around that quick.
I'm making a different point.
Okay.
Yes, that's part of the point.
Right.
The point is, when you look at someone and they're not, quote, normal, and then you start listing what you think they should not do in life. Constraining the options that maybe they have ambitions that are greater than anything you imagined.
Right.
And so there's a letter beautifully written of someone took a voyage on a steamship in 1915, and I reproduced the letter in here. Beautifully written, and this passenger was given a tour of their steamship, okay, by the captain. And this letter, I can't find it in here, but it's beautifully. I mean, is there time for me to read something?
Sure.
Can I do?
You have plenty of time.
I got to read it.
We have all the time in the world.
Give me a second here, and you talk among yourselves. What? Let me see. HAJG. I got it. Okay. There it goes. Okay. Here's a letter. Okay. Again, this is in the Body and Mind chapter where we explore. Here it is. So I had the wrong year. How about a letter written on April 10th, 1930, to Captain von Beck of the U.S. Lines SS President Roosevelt? That's Teddy Roosevelt, of course. The captain had given a tour of the bridge to a passenger who later that day waxed poetic about the experience. Again, I stood with the captain on the bridge, and he was quiet and composed in the presence of a million universes. A man with the power of a god. In imagination, I saw the captain standing on the bridge, gazing into the wide canopied heavens and seeing the darkness sprinkled with stars, systems, and galaxies. That passenger was Helen Keller, a 1904 graduate of Radcliffe College. Okay? So what my point is, and I have there's a whole run of pages of things, and there's a whole description of Hotshot here, okay, from the Harlem Globetrotters. My point is, the moment you homogenize and, quote, normalize who and what humans should be, you have cut off so much of what has enriched civilization simply because people were different.
Yes.
Simply because.
Yeah.
And so if everybody's the same, what kind of world? I don't want to live in that world. Give me a different world.
Do you worry that
I got another one here. One more, okay? Okay. You probably know this, but those who don't know the name, hold off on it, okay?
Okay.
Here it is. Jim Abbott. You know what Jim Abbott is?
Sure.
Okay. Some people won't, but here it goes. Jim Abbott wanted his whole life to be a professional baseball player, a dream shared by many American boys. Jim wanted to be a pitcher in the major leagues. He succeeded and played for many teams, chalking up a mixed record of wins and losses. But on September 4th, 1993, while playing for the storied
I don't remember.
New York Yankees, dude,
I thought it was the Mets.
no.
I'm not a big
He pitched a
baseball fan.
no-hitter. That's when no batter gets a hit in the entire game. There have been about 320 no-hitters in Major League history out of 220,000 games played. Due to a congenital birth defect, Jim Abbott was born without a right hand. Is Jim Abbott disabled? Is he? He pitched a fucking no-hitter for the New York Yankees. What I'm saying is, obviously not everyone who has a disability will achieve this way.
Yes.
I don't want to, don't get me wrong here, but what I want to say is, look at what people